So we're going to ask our panelists to come up to the stage. Thank you. So next up, we have a unique opportunity to have a conversation with our local literacy champions and mayors. We're very lucky to have them with us today. I'm going to sit in the middle if you all don't mind. That way I can. So really you're looking at part of the backbone of what has been the success behind Read On Arizona. So I thought it was really important, and I was so happy that they agreed to spend a little time with us and answer some questions about what they're excited about that's going on in their Read On community. I'm just going to do a quick little introduction. At the end here on my left, we have Mayor Nichols from Yuma. There's exciting things happening in Yuma, especially around early childhood. So we're so happy to have you with us. On my left here, we have Mayor Giles. He is from Mesa, which happens to be my hometown. We happen to have gone to the same high school and junior high, I found out. So very proud to have him with us here today.
Years after him, though.
After.
Yes, years after. Years and years after.
War Eagle, by the way.
And on my right, we have Mayor Mitchell, who is from Tempe, and really, again, is leading the Read On communities by example. And we're really excited to hear some of the things that are happening there. And of course, our Mayor Greg Stanton on the end here, who, give him a hand. He's sharing Election Day with us.
Right.
So we're grateful to have him share with us some of the exciting things that are happening with Read On Phoenix. And I know we're on a little tight time schedule, so we're just going to dive in with some questions if you all don't mind. And the first one I'm going to go to on our end is Mayor Stanton. So Read On Phoenix has 4 key areas: school readiness, summer learning loss, after-school literacy enrichment, and volunteerism, in the work that it's identified to help ensure that all Phoenix children are reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade. Why those priorities for Read On Phoenix, and does the City of Phoenix have a unique perspective and role to play in helping reach the community goal of grade level reading for all Phoenix children?
All right, well, first off, thank you for having me and the other mayors here for this important panel discussion. Thank you for doing a Literacy Summit. Thanks to our friends at First Things First for hosting this, and I really want to say to each and every person here who is you've chosen your life, your career, your advocacy, your avocation to be literacy and learning, whether you be a teacher, educator, a librarian, preschool program, after-school program, early childhood, whatever it is. All of us, I'm not only speaking on every mayor up here, thank you for choosing a career supporting our young people. It's critically, critically important. I think we do have a unique role as mayors in this effort, not just with early childhood education, not just with literacy, but on education generally, and making that direct connection between the future of our economy, the quality of jobs that we'll be able to attract and retain, and what happens in early childhood or throughout a child's educational career. We're very lucky. I think people still listen to us. With the craziness in Washington, D.C., and I think people view cities as still functional levels of government. And it's apropos that we send a message that it should be a priority for each of our cities to be actively involved on the issue of literacy and reading by 3rd grade. So you mentioned the 4 pillars that Phoenix has chosen. I'm sure it's similar for the other cities. The answer is, how could we not choose those pillars? We wouldn't be doing right by our young people and the future of our cities if we didn't make this a priority. So I'm proud that we have so many experienced Corps volunteers in our public schools, particularly in high poverty areas. I'm proud of our Phoenix library system and the great librarians who I would politely argue are the most, I hope no other departments are here, the most innovative department in the city of Phoenix is the Phoenix librarians and the library department. Incredible things that they do. I'm so proud of our Head Start instructors and teachers, and the fact that our PAC after-school programs make reading such a priority and integrate that into all of their activities. So I would just say, it makes a lot of sense, obviously, that those would be the pillars that we have chosen in the city of Phoenix, because it's the pillars that the community, the leaders in this room, have said it would be the most effective things we can do.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you. I think this whole room, I couldn't agree more. The next question I'm going to give to you, Mayor Mitchell.
Okay.
So there are so many excellent programs in the city of Tempe that you're involved in and related to education. One in particular is Experience Corps Tempe that has been utilizing volunteers for the last 10 years. Why do you think that program is so effective, and are there new directions you're headed with that program to combat summer learning loss, for example?
Well, thank you. Again, as Mayor Stanton mentioned, thank you to everyone for all that you do, because we all know it takes a great team to help us in everything we do in our communities, from our community involvement to our education and to our young future leaders in our city. So thank you all very much for what you all do for our own communities and for the state of Arizona. Yes, we do have Experience Corps, and one of the things that we practice a lot, and we're very fortunate to be a mayor of a city where our citizens are so engaged, and we're able to tap our resources, our most valued resources, our residents, to help with kids in our community, first grade to third grade, with Read On through Experience Corps. And it came out of a partnership with AARP, and it's a tremendous success. I mean, we have some volunteers from our Experience Corps here in our Read On program here in the audience. I saw them before I came in. And what's really exciting is we have over 85 volunteers that have donated over 99,000 hours. And we're in 9 different schools within our city, and the success is tremendous. I mean, one of the things we learned early on is, as I come from a family of educators as well, but also, and I've never stopped learning, but my father would tell me that, but I would tell you that by learning to read early creates a lifelong benefits, not only to the kids, but as they get older. And it's something that's so important. And by partnering with Experience Corps and AARP to really understand that it takes a team to really educate our kids for the future is important. And I think that's why you all are here as well.
Great, thank you. All right, so we're going to turn over to these lovely gentlemen over here. Next one goes to you. In the first phase of its evolution, Read on Mesa has focused on reducing summer learning loss by implementing a summer reading program called 12 Books a Home with Mesa United Way and Mesa Public Schools. Can you tell us a little bit about the program and why it's important and what some maybe of the challenges have been?
You bet, and I'm happy to look at Patty Mullen while I'm giving this answer. She's our rock star as far as Read on Mesa goes. And let me just add, I don't know, there must be something about having educators for parents that invites people to be politicians. My dad was an elementary school principal for 30 some odd years, and growing up I remember not having a clue who the mayor or council members were, but I could probably name every school board member for the last 30 years in Mesa, Arizona. So I bring that passion along with my fellow mayors to this job. The city of Mesa is not Mesa Public Schools or Gilbert Public Schools, that we share those 2 great school districts. But nonetheless, as mayor, I feel that I do have a leadership role in the community to address the education issues and support the families and supplement and complement our school districts as much as possible. And Read on Mesa is so far the best way I've been able to find to do that. So what we've done in Read on Mesa, as was indicated, is right now we're concentrating on the title schools, and Mesa's got a lot of them. I think everybody does. And particularly right now we're at 5 schools trying to expand that. And we're focusing, I guess, if you want to read by the time you're in 3rd grade, you probably need to start learning before you're in 3rd grade. So right now the 12-book program is we're getting these kindergarten kids excited right as they leave school after kindergarten going into 1st grade. We hand them a backpack with 12 books. And it seems important for them to have some role in selecting what those books are. So we suggest 6 or so, and then we allow them to go and pick fill out the 12 with books that they're personally excited about. And again, that's aimed at this idea of trying to diminish the detrimental effect of not being in school over the course of the summer. That's been a very successful program in our community, and it's been, as you indicated, a partnership with Mesa United Way. When we first got Patty, she was on a loaned executive from Intel, which was great, and she was so dang good we had to figure out how to pay for her after that program expired. But she's been great at engaging the other staff folks at United Way, and then also helping us recruit volunteers throughout the community to make that a successful program.
Thank you. and the mayor that wins having come the longest distance for this panel, so thank you again, Mayor Nichols. Read on Yuma is part of Yuma County Early Childhood Collaborative that's focused on the implementation of family-centered, comprehensive, collaborative, and high-quality early childhood system that supports development, health, and early education of all of Yuma's children. So it's a lofty and ambitious goal. This is an initiative that you are actively involved in and engaged in helping to launch. Could you tell us a bit more of why this was particularly important to you?
This kind of goes back, well, before I get started, I'd like to thank you for the invitation to sit here today among these other mayors of these fine cities who've all have either worked or lived within, so we share a little bit of that. But to see so many people at this event is great, because literacy is dramatically important. One of the things about the city of Yuma that I've always loved when I grew up there, and one of the reasons why I moved back, was the collaborative effort that goes on in all sorts of arenas. And when I came into office, one of the things I wanted to do was highlight that, because that's not something that is really evident. It's not something that anyone was touting from the rooftops, but it was an important quality of our community, something that is indicative to being rural, being agricultural based, being just kind of where we are and our long history in that area. And so we started the United for Yuma campaign to tell those stories, and this is one of the stories of the United for Yuma effort. And early on, United Way of Yuma, as well as First Things First, looked and see that there was maybe some duplicative efforts, maybe some holes. So why don't we get all these people together, all these organizations together that are trying to do the same thing, and look to coordinate those activities and look to build. And so in doing that, you end up building a much stronger program, much stronger network, less people fall through the cracks, more kids are educated, more families are educated on what the programs are and how to work with the programs. So it was very kind of natural for our community to do that, but it's also very deliberate. It wasn't just something that we fell into. It was very deliberate action. And so the collaborative effort is supported by the usual suspects, the school districts and the universities that are involved in Yuma, but also a lot of private industry. The Arizona Community Foundation, the Helios Foundation, a lot of other partners that really make it work, and work as truly as a community effort. So that is something that I take great pride in, although honestly I didn't do the heavy lifting on it. So, but I would like to thank the United Way and First Things First for their leadership in that.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Mayor Stanton, one of the things I know I've been most excited to see is what Read on Phoenix has done with their collaboration and with AARP Experience Corps and Experience Matters, and launching what we know had worked well in Tempe, but now you've made it a priority and been able to launch in 10 schools and expanding into new districts this year. So engaging volunteers was clearly one of your pillars and an important one. Can you share a little bit about the progress and what you're already beginning to see?
Again, and it's a great program, and Tempe did it first, and it was we always share best practices. We have a mayor's education roundtable. See Georgia Lord out there, who's on the roundtable as well. So the mayors get together regularly to talk specifically about education and share best practices and ideas that we can utilize. And we stole this one from Tempe, and we were lucky enough to get a grant from the Experience Corps group, and we have 160 plus volunteers in our cities. But I guess it makes perfect sense, obviously, to take talented people that have retired from their lifetime career, that still want to be active in the community. They have to be invited back. I mean, we have so many talented people in our community that just need to be politely urged and nudged in the right direction, and getting them into our schools, working one-on-one with kids, particularly kids that may be struggling to read at grade level, to help them catch up. I mean, what a talent pool that we're so blessed to have, and yet I think we as a community don't do a good enough job. We have 160. We're barely scratching the surface. We should be doing so much more, and I know the schools that we work with are so willing to allow those to come in. Because one of the larger points I wanted to make is that on this particular issue, literacy, particularly reading by third grade, it is not something that any of us can sort of point the finger at somebody else and say it is their responsibility, not ours. We can say our friends at the legislature don't provide the resources that we should, and I wish they would provide more resources, but that's not enough. We have to look to ourselves. What can we do as cities? What can the business community and our respective communities do? What can the faith community be doing? What can the foundations, the United Ways in our community be doing? If we're going to be successful on this issue, which is so critically important to the long-term economic success of our state, we got to be all in. Everyone's got to be in on this. And we're lucky to have schools that are willing to let the community come in, if you will, and help on this critically important issue. So a little less finger pointing, a little more looking in the mirror and saying, what more can we do? And I wish each institution that I mentioned would do a little bit more of that. I think we'd make a lot of progress on this critically important issue.
Fantastic. So, Mayor Mitchell, what else should we know about Read on Tempe and what's happening in Tempe? What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited about the engagement within our community, but we're having other programs that we partner with. We have a tremendous after-school program called Kid Zone, and we've taken the Read On program and we're expanding it into our summer program. We have 2 days a week. It's a pilot program that we're doing, and during the summer, so when education's out, the kids have somewhere to go in our public library system, and then what we do is we offer a book for each kid that comes. So when they go home, they read at the Read On program here at the library. Then when they go home, we give them a book so they can practice reading at home and get their parents involved. And we had great partnerships with Read On. We work with First Things First. We have a Thrive to 5 initiative that First Things First helped fund it, so thank you for that. It's a family resource center where parents can go to help and connect literacy with early childhood to learn best practices so they can also teach their kids at home, because as we know, learning doesn't stop when the bell rings. It's a continuing process as we learn. So those are just some of the examples that we're working on in our community from the Read On Experience Score.
Fantastic. All right, so I know half of our panel has a time commitment, so I'm going to throw 2 quick questions at you, which is favorite children's book, so from each of you, and then we're going to let you leave us because we know you're on a tough time schedule. And then these 2 have graciously agreed to answer 1 or 2 more questions, so I'll throw that. You guys think about the children's book question because it's going to come your way.
Well, I'll jump in first
Oh,
I was going to jump in and first say this is an important day in the city of Phoenix. I will not tell anyone who they should vote for in the city election, but if you're a Phoenix resident, make sure you get to one of our voting centers in the city of Phoenix by 7 p.m. tonight. Do not miss out on voting in this important election. And so I have a 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter at home, so I spend a lot of time reading to them. And yes, we love the Cronin series. Not Click, Clack, Moo, but that's a good one. I learned more about politics from Duck for President than any other book that I have ever read. It's a classic. Was that going to be it?
Oh my! Duck for President. You totally stole it.
I didn't know.
No. Same. I mean, Duck for President, but the Click Clack as well is one of my favorites. So.
That's
sorry,
they're
it's kind of
classics.
fitting.
It's classic, exactly. So, well, thank you both for doing this panel. It's been such a great chance to sit down, and I know. Let's give them a hand, and then we're going to keep talking a little bit more. So,
thank you.
I'm so sorry about the time thing, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tonight.
I like having these 2. They're kind of captive audience because they can't actually leave with.
You bet.
So you guys are still okay to answer just 1 or 2 more questions, and we're going to let everybody break here soon. But I just had a couple things that I wanted to make sure you guys had a chance to talk about, especially Mayor Giles, for you. I know your superintendent, Dr. Cowan at Mesa Public Schools, has mentioned and was quoted somewhere as saying poverty is winning the war in Mesa, and made the case that there's a direct correlation to economic development, to literacy and educational achievement. So I know you've been having some discussions about Read on Mesa beginning to focus its next phase around targeting community outreach and literacy supports to Latino families with very young children in partnership with faith-based community. So could you tell us a little bit more about your interest and your connection to the faith-based community and how you see them playing a key role in improving early literacy in Mesa?
You bet. And what Dr. Cowan said is absolutely true, and I'm afraid it might be true outside of Mesa as well. Certainly, I grew up in Mesa, and I've seen that community evolve over time. The west part of Mesa that I live in and love and have my roots in has become progressively kind of succumbing to the issues of poverty, I'm afraid. And Dr. Cowan, for example, will tell you Mesa Public Schools, biggest school district in the state, one of the biggest school districts in the country. We have almost 60 elementary schools. All but I think 7 of those are Title I schools. And I could go through the junior highs and high schools as well. And a lot of those elementary schools, when I'm talking about Title I, I'm saying 95, 98%, free and reduced lunch. So the Morrison Institute, which I think is no stranger probably to a lot of people in this room, a few years ago did a great article called 5 Shoes About to Drop. I think probably a lot of us have read that, talking about some of the challenges that we're facing as a community, as a greater Phoenix community. One of those shoes that was about to drop was this fast-growing immigrant population that is socioeconomically challenged and academically underperforming. And the challenge in this article was this, and we need to do something. We need to address this population because it's growing and it's going to continue to grow and present a bigger and bigger challenge. I think it was a year or 2 later, they did another article called Dropped. In other words, saying, we told you it was going to happen, it happened. And I think the poster child for this scenario that I'm describing is Mesa, or the west part of Mesa that is my native land. So I've hooked up with Morrison again, and I said, okay, you told us it was going to happen. You told us it happened. Can you please tell us what to do about it now? Because as a community, my job as mayor is to brag about the community and talk about how shiny and pretty and what a great place it is to locate your business. But on the other hand, I need to address the reality of the situation. Mesa Public Schools is a majority district. I think that's not uncommon in a lot of our state. And so this is a challenge. What can we do as a community to actually address this growing need in our community? You mentioned the faith community. I think we all have to look at the cards that we're dealt. What are the positives? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What tools do we have as a community to address this issue? And in Mesa, the faith community is a real asset. That's one of our strengths. So January of this year, we held a prayer breakfast and invited every faith group leader that we could find to come to this prayer breakfast. And the program was, among other things, we identified what can you do, please get involved in the community, and we trotted out Read on Mesa as one of the programs that we thought was a good fit for the faith community. If you think about it, doing things like a book drive, recruiting volunteers to be tutors, those are 2 tasks that are really very well suited to dealing with the faith community. So that is one of our ways of attacking this problem, and it's probably not something that wouldn't fit it to some extent in all the communities that are here.
Terrific. Thank you. So Mayor Nichols, one of the issues we've noticed across the state is that access to preschool is a challenge. Arizona continues to wrestle with. 67% of Arizona's 3- and 4-year-olds are not enrolled in a preschool setting. One of the strategies that Read on Yuma took on was to launch a kinder camp program to give students and families a preschool experience or exposure opportunity. Could you tell us a little bit about what that entailed and how was it successful and was it embraced?
Very good. Yes, kinder camp is actually one of those best practices that we stole. Flagstaff gets credit for the community we stole it from, but we make it uniquely our own. But that's where it was generated, and basically it's as you described. It helps create a positive experience for the young child who has not ever been in a preschool setting. So we did not deliberately avoided taking any of the students that had been in a Head Start program or any daycare. Or preschool, I'm sorry, not daycare, but preschool, and focused on those that were economically disadvantaged and had never had the opportunity to be in a preschool. And we brought them in, and they got to meet the teachers, they got to do some learning, some positive, fun learning, and their parents became engaged, which is, as educators, everyone in this room knows, it's critical to get the parents engaged. And we kind of broke down some of the unknowns. They got tours of the campus. They got the teachers did some home visits, so they weren't just always this kind of foreign person that you got to authoritarian report to, but it was more palatable, and the families got educated as well as the preschoolers, so that they, as they entered kindergarten, they were more familiar with the process. It was less of a scary situation for the kid or an unknown situation for the parent. And 44% of those come into the classroom a lot more ready. So if you want to do something to make a kindergarten teacher smile, it's do a camp program like this, because those that wouldn't normally have the opportunity for whatever reason have this opportunity, and they come in a lot more prepared and ready to engage.
That's great. Great. All right, just a couple more questions. One for you, Mayor Giles. You've made reading in the classroom a priority. What do you like to read to get students excited about reading? Or what's your favorite children's book?
Well, yeah, whenever I have the opportunity to read to a classroom, that's a good day. I mean, the mayor's job sometimes is a little challenging, so getting to read on an elementary school level in front of a bunch of smiling faces is really, a great, I love that opportunity every time I get it. One of my neighbors, as soon as I was elected, I've been the mayor for just a little less than a year, and so I'm still kind of learning. But one of my neighbors, as soon as I was elected, she went through this. They had a favorite children's book called The Little Blue Truck, and she went through and cut out my face, in the right proportion, and laminated it onto this book all throughout this book. And it's a little story of a little blue truck that saves the mayor's limousine. Breaks down, and the little blue truck, I'm seeing some nodding heads, you guys have seen this. The little blue truck, saves the mayor, and this, kind of pompous mayor, thanks the little blue truck for saving the day. Anyway, the kids get a kick out of it, because when they see my face in a book, all of a sudden I'm a big deal. So that's fun, and I pull that out for the younger grades. And then, like Mayor Stanton, I read to my kids a lot. My youngest of 5 kids is a 6th grader this year, and his favorite book growing up was Dr. Seuss's If I Ran the Zoo. For a lot of us, that's a meaningful book, because that's Dr. Seuss created, I think, a lot of words. One of the words that he created in that book was nerd. And so, like I say, for a lot of us, that's a very important book. And it's a tricky book to read,
Right.
but as a result of having read it every night, probably for a year or two to my son, I got it down cold. So I'm very impressive as a book reader when I pull out If I Ran the Zoo. So.
Not an easy skill.
No. All of you will be very impressed when you pull that one out and try to get through it the first
You're
time.
going to get requests now.
I would love it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mayor Nichols, I have one question for you, because I want to give you a chance to talk about summer reading in Yuma and the summer book program that Read on Yuma has been working in. I think I was told that it provides 332 kindergarten to 3rd grade students with 12 self-selected books to read over the course of the summer. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned as a city in keeping learning going year-round?
Well, what we've learned is reading's important. It's one of those programs that was kind of, that makes sense to do. And it's not something that, I don't know, we had any major revelations, but I have 4 kids of my own. I'm a father, I'm a business owner, and then I get to do this mayor gig as kind of a side benefit. And reading is just so engaging. It opens up so many opportunities. As a child, I did a lot of reading, and the thing that impressed me about that as a child was that I could learn about anything. I didn't have to wait for someone to teach me. I could find a book and I could read it. So we find those same kind of results in our summer program, is that and it's fairly new, so we don't have many years of history on this, but we do have the fact that students have the ability then to go and do their own exploration. And maybe they can't travel to Paris, France, or Egypt and see the pyramids, but they can in their books. And so having that expands knowledge. And I notice, and I don't know, Mayor, if you've noticed, those that have a very heavy reading desire ask really good questions when you open it up on the floor for questions with the little kids. They're a lot more engaged when they come to see the city council chambers, and they want to sit in the chair and rap the gavel. And you can see their imaginations working not overtime, but it's working well and it's healthy. And so that's what we experience through our summer program.
Great. All right, and favorite children's book?
I've been
I could tell you've been
torn on this.
Yeah, having to choose, right?
Right. I'm really maybe more stuck on the authors. Anything by Dr. Seuss, I love because of the rhyming, although I didn't realize how hard they were to read, because I can read it in front of my kids easily enough. But when you get 30 antsy kindergartners bouncing around, those words get pretty twisted. And then Shel Silverstein is the other author that we enjoy reading.
You know, Patty Mullen, our director of Read on Mesa, asked me this question a few months ago, and then, bless her heart, we've got stacks and stacks of books in boxes and boxes all throughout Mesa United Way, and I don't know how, but she found this book for me, and she gave it to me a couple of months ago. But it's an obscure book, unless you're probably my age or older, but it was called Ping the Duck. I don't know if everybody remember that one? Yes, Ping. And I'm trying to remember why I was so captivated by this book, but I think it's part of what Mayor Nichols said a little bit ago. Growing up as a kid in Mesa, Arizona in the 19-somethings, you know, to look at this book that was about a little Chinese boy that lived on a junk, and about these ducks that had a ring around their neck and that went fishing and spit the fish out into the boat. It was like, and the, you know, the hairdos of the people. I was like, this is on another planet. Is it possible that people like this and events like this can exist somewhere? It was just so foreign to me. It had just had this really dramatic impact on me as a young boy. And so Patty was kind enough to find this book, and I've been reading it to my grandkids. And anyway, maybe I'm odd, but that was. And I think the other thing is, remember Captain Kangaroo? I think that book was one of the books that he read frequently on that. Anyway, had a big impact.
Well, thank you both, and I think we could keep asking you questions forever. You're both very engaging and both very committed to literacy, so we thank you for being here. So let's give them a big hand.
Thank you.
And we are done for a short break, and please join out there for some beverages. Thank you. You guys did great.